You can be a 3-year-old kid and be given a box of names of cryptocurrencies and take 10 out, and you will literally make 30 times your money over the next 20 years. This is going to catch a lot of people by surprise. It is all in the run-up where the money will be made. My guess is the moment ETH 2.0 happens, half of the ETH gets unlocked. And it all comes onto the market and the price will collapse. It's typical. Yeah, and that's a short-term thing. It might be an overhang for a year. I mean, who the hell knows, right? But that's pretty obvious that this is the best single time. That's why I call it the greatest trade between now and ETH 2.0. Everybody wants it to happen. They're going to lock up as much ETH as possible and get the yield. It's as simple as that. But when it comes out, chance ETH collapses. If you remember when Coinbase went public, everyone's like, this is so good for the space. Everyone's going to know about it. What did it do? Marked the exact high in Bitcoin. And this will probably mark the high in ETH. It's the marginal change that matters. Right now, the marginal change is more and more people locking up ETH, right? The rate of change of people locking up is still extremely high. What will happen is the rate of change of people staking will fall. It's as simple as that. You know, the bull case is that, of course, there's a load of people who are just going to stake and just leave it there. And that's good because that's the long-term health of the system. You know, nobody's in this for the quick buck, but there's a shit ton of people, yourselves included, who will end up selling some ETH because they want to buy a house or get married or do all the stuff that costs fiat money.
Do you think Ether will grow faster? Do you think Ether will flip in Bitcoin at some point in time?
I think there's a serious probability that they will, because a platform versus an asset it tends, just by the nature of what the Ethereum ecosystem is, it tends to attract more capital and have a higher market cap. So yeah, it's definitely possible. And you know, the adoption rates continue at the rate that it's going, it'll happen pretty quick. So people should own a bit of Bitcoin. There is an argument that you should never own Bitcoin, because if you play it through and look at Bitcoin dominance or Bitcoin versus everything else, Bitcoin outperforms in bear markets, and Ethereum, and then going out the risk curve, outperforms even more. So yeah, we're seeing the risk curve here now, which is some of the newer, faster adoptions, let's say Solana, stuff like that, growing faster than Ethereum, because they're at a lower point in the cycle. You know, the less number of users, price goes up exponentially faster, NFT, stuff like that, when you're going further out the risk curve. So then let's say, so that's the bull market. You shouldn't own Bitcoin because it's going to underperform. And in a bear market, you should own stable coins. So in which case, why should you ever own Bitcoin? It's impossible now to keep up. So you have to specialize. And, you know, I decided that I'm not interested in DeFi really, because I came from the financial system and I don't care about yield. It's kind of boring to me. DeFi is very cool, right? I mean, I love it, love the whole concept. But for me, I'm a financial markets guy. It's less exciting than complete disruption of business models that NFTs and social tokens are, or even, you know, ETH the asset is. So I just kind of drifted away from that. You know, I still own a bunch of DeFi tokens, but I don't get involved in it. And I think I think it's normal and it's good and it's healthy that people will coalesce around what they think is where they can move the dial or the biggest opportunity lies. We're basically all just taking bets, asset allocation bets of our time and our energy and our money, coalescing around that, building communities and getting stuff done. Perfect. To see the Ethereum community fragment like this actually makes it stronger, because you're creating pools of excellence and large pools of excellence around. And I think that's great. They're not fighting with each other. They're just saying, hey, listen, you guys do that, we'll do this. Maybe we can meet up somewhere in the middle. I mean, that's brilliant. That's how to create, you know, a massive ecosystem. I mean, that, I think, again, just plays into the hand of the kind of Metcalfe's law network effects. If you're now seeing all these nodes grouped together and create these super nodes around core elements of this, I think it's great. People try and overthink everything. You know, ETH currently is a platform. You know, that's how I think about it. You know, it's a platform from which to utilize their blockchain to transfer value, to store value, and to create applications on top. So, you know, is elements of it money, as we talked about? Yes. Are elements of store of value? Yes. Are elements pure technology? Yes. I mean, it's everything. So, you know, it kind of is still the vision that Vitalik had of the kind of internet computer. I mean, it is that, but that sounds a bit restrictive. It's kind of I call it the internet of value, and you could call it the platform of value. And it's not exclusive, because others can do similar things, but nothing has the scale, the scope that Ethereum currently has. Yeah, there's a few people who throw out a few comments on Twitter, you know, some sort of ETH maximalist view, you know, and they don't mind baiting a few people with laser eyes and stuff like that. So you can see that. But generally speaking, I found that people in the Ethereum ecosystem are too busy building businesses to fight with each other or to fight with anybody else. You don't even see kind of ETH versus Solana. So, oh, that's an interesting project over there. They seem to be growing quite fast. I better get on with what I'm doing here. It's a very, 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 very different mentality. And it's because my guess is the Ethereum ecosystem is not a finished thing. Well, Bitcoin is finished, really. And therefore, it also becomes a bit boring. And I know this is terrible to say, but I understand the boomer coin thing, because it's a bit like gold, right? Gold's perfect. Gold doesn't have to do anything else. It's perfect. It's gold. And Bitcoin's perfect. It's Bitcoin. I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal. Now, so it's a bit boring to talk about. So then there's sovereign adoption. That is interesting. You know, there's the institutional adoption, I think is very interesting. The Lightning layer as a payments layer, that's interesting. You know, there is some interesting stuff. It's just not as intuitively interesting as the amount of innovation that's coming out of this space. There's a lot of macro guys that will be annoyingly kind of hand wavy, like, if it's being adopted at speed, it's going to work. And everyone's like, well, what exactly can I model that in a spreadsheet? No, forget about it. It's irrelevant. If you look at the rate of adoption that's going on of the entire crypto space, and this is my true north. This is all I need to know. There's one single thing I need to know and nothing else. So we know that it's growing at 113% a year in terms of number of users. And we will assume that over time, that trend rate of growth falls a bit. So if it falls from this year and goes down to 83%, so that's a significant fall in the growth rate. And we saw the internet do similar, but it was at peak growth was 63%, we're at 113. It gets by the end of 2024 to 1 billion people. That gets us to about 3 or 4 billion people by 2027, 28. Okay, so a blind chimp can choose a cryptocurrency and get rich. If you look at the size of the assets, the entire crypto space as of today hit 2 trillion again, I think. Global equities are about 200 trillion. Global bonds are like 200 trillion. Global real estate's about 100 trillion. 2 trillion, 200 trillion. I figure that's probably 100x. And we all know, almost all of us realize that all bonds, all securities, all assets are going on chain anyway. So it's probably even bigger than that. But the point being is that you'll never, ever in your entire life, ever again, and ever beforehand, were given 100x in an asset that's already up 2 million% when you look at Bitcoin. You've never been given this. And you can basically choose anything and it will go up. So once you do that, you're not scared of making the wrong bet, and it stops you being tribal, because within that, you know some of them are going to be amazing. You take the pressure off, you take some basic bets, you know, Bitcoin, Ethereum, a couple of others here and there, and then you can just have a basket of stuff. And over time, decide, okay, I quite like that, or that's getting faster adoption. So then you start to look at, like, Solana is clearly getting adoption. It's clearly happening, and it's clearly happening in the price. Okay, so do you want to own a bit more of that? Maybe. You know, is Polkadot getting to where it should be? Don't know yet. but it's worth keeping an eye on. You know, there's a lot of stuff. And then, so that's how I tend to deal with it, is forget trying to model it and look for fair values and this. It's like, as I said, you can be a 3-year-old kid and be given a box of names of cryptocurrencies and take 10 out, and you will literally make 30 times your money over the next 20 years.